Just me scratching my eyebrow. Hey YouTube, I'm Anthony.
I'm Monica.
And we're the cooks.
Today we're going to talk about something that is very, very, very important in a marriage, in any relationship. And that is, first of all, let me ask you a question. Have you become a robot in your marriage? Have you become, for the lack of a better word, sleepwalking in your marriage? Are you, just existing in your marriage? Is that good?
That's great. Unconscious.
Are you unconscious in your marriage? If in a marriage, you have to be conscious. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember a pill that was out not too long ago. I don't remember the name of the pill, but it was some kind of sleep aid, I think it was. And people were taking the sleep aid. And then after they took the sleep aid, they would go driving around. They would go to clubs. They would meet people. There were wives that would have sex with their husbands and the next day not remember it, have no conscious mind state of what was going on. And so I don't know if they took the drug off the market or if they just said, these are the side effects, because you know how they do it.
I want to say that was Ambisol. Is Ambisol a sleep aid?
I don't know. So what ended up happening was that people hopefully stopped taking it. But here's the thing. Are you just existing in your marriage? Are you just going through the motions? Are you not paying attention to what's going on around you? The other day I went to the gas station and I watched a couple pull up to the gas station. And when they pulled up to the gas station, I watched the guy get out of the car, go inside of the store, and he paid for the gas. And then I watched the girl get out of the car and she pumped the gas. And then he came back out and he had a refreshing beverage. And while she was pumping the gas, he was standing there and he was chugging his drink down. And he finished the drink and he didn't want to put the bottle in the car, so he threw it in the trash. And so I looked at that couple as they drove off and I said, they're unconscious. Because I saw her frustration when he got out of the car and walked inside the store. I saw her frustration when he came out and he had a drink and he didn't have anything for her. I saw the frustration when he chugged it, threw it in the trash, got in the car before she finished pumping the gas, and just waited for her to get in the car to drive off. And I paid attention. They did have on wedding rings, and I believed that they were married to each other. And then they pulled off. So ask yourself, are you unconscious in your marriage? Are you just...
You know what? When you say that, when we're driving, a lot of times I'm looking at couples, because when I see a guy and a girl in the car, I don't know if they're married or not. But for a married couple, for me and Daz, if we're in the car together, we're talking.
Yes.
We're talking. There's very, very seldom you'll see us in the car together and we're not talking.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when those times are. I don't think that's ever. Because one thing about it is we use the car, as you can see, as our way to be able to get caught up on things. When I'm at work and when she's at work, we try to let each other do our jobs. But when we're in the car, this is our cone of silence. This is our place where we're not dealing with the kids, we're not dealing with work, We're not dealing with life, we're not dealing with any of that. And while we're going from one place to the other, we are both the kind of people that we love to multitask. And so while we're going from one place to the other, it's a great time for us to get together and say, okay, what's on our agenda? What do we have going on? What's important in our lives?
I'm going to tell you some things. When you're unconscious in your marriage, think about these things. When is the last time you told your husband, thank you for going to work? When is the last time you told your wife, you are a wonderful mother, you are a wonderful wife? When is the last time you said, thank you for cooking dinner? When is the last time you said, we haven't spent any time together? Because when you're unconscious in your marriage, spending time together, you won't even think about it because it's just the norm. Your marriage should never be just the norm. You should never be a robot in your marriage, because your marriage should be constantly evolving. Because you're a human being. You're constantly changing. 1 minute I like my eggs soft, and then I like them hard, and I like boiled eggs now. We're constantly changing.
Yeah.
I'm learning new stuff about him every day.
But you put forth the effort to find out those things.
Yes.
Put forth the effort. I mean, you put forth a lot of time, energy, and effort to get to know me.
And I pay attention when we're talking. You gotta, and sometimes when you are conscious in your marriage, you're reading between the lines. You're picking up things without stuff being said, and it matters to you.
Yeah, and if you listen to what's not being said as much as you listen to what's being said, you'll get a lot out of your marriage. You'll find out a lot about your spouse. And open up. Open up and find out those things, because I'm telling you, if you open up and you start to question each other and you start to, it opens up, it awakens something in your mind. Um, it's kind of like being hypnotized. When somebody gets hypnotized, they take the little watch or whatever and they dangle it in front of them, and then they take them into a deep, deep sleep. You're supposed to wake me up.
Mm.
Takes them into a deep, deep sleep. And when they go into that deep, deep sleep, it gets into their subconscious mind. And when it gets to their subconscious mind, they start to remember things that were the small things. Normally, when they take somebody and they put them under hypnosis, it's not to remember the big events in their lives. It's to remember the small things in their lives. Those small, little bitty things that you probably wouldn't pay attention to, those small little nuances. And so what ends up happening is that you go to those small things. And so to be able to practice developing a way to be more conscious in your marriage, more conscious in your communication, more conscious in your relationship, and to help it to evolve, what you have to do is you have to get into those small little bitty things. You have to know, why does she have a little scratch on her chin? Why does she have a little scratch on her hand? I like to know those things. And so in the effort to find out those things, I'm talking to her about her childhood. And she tells me about how she was walking home from school and she saw some apples and she wanted to get an apple, but she didn't pay attention to the fact that the sign said electric fence, and then she shocked herself. So those are the kind of things that when you start talking to your spouse, hypnotize yourself. Hypnotize yourself. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because when you start going through your marriage like a robot, you stop talking. You stop communicating. You stop growing together. You stop mattering to each other. Then that's when, like we mentioned in our other videos, the flirting comes in. Or, because now you're looking for attention from somebody else because your marriage has just gotten mundane. It just is. And then your kids grow up and you wondering, who the heck is this dude sitting across the table from me?
And you never want that to happen. And
No.
if you stay conscious in your marriage and you start to focus on those little bitty things, they open up a world of things of discovery about the person that you're with. Don't think just because you know their first name, their last name, and their middle initial that you know everything that there is to know about them. Don't think that just because you've been with somebody for 25 years that you know everything there is to know about them. And if you start to question them and start to talk to them and start to interview them. I had a friend that called me this week, and he called us up and he wanted to ask us questions about our heritage and the way that we grew up. And so in our efforts to answer his questions, we started talking. He was like, wow, I never knew that about you. And I never knew that about you. And wow, that's so interesting. And when we were opening up and sharing those things with him, it made us think about things that we probably would have dismissed as unimportant in our lives. But when we voiced it out, it became something that was majorly important.
Yes.
And so when you're with your spouse and you are trying to break that norm of being in that unconscious state and you want to move into that conscious state, start to question small things about your spouse, about their past, about their present. What's going on in your day? What happened to you today that made you come home looking the way that you looked? Why did you come in looking unhappy? Why were you looking sad? Did you have a bad day? If you had a bad day, why did you have a bad day?
And we're not talking about badgering anybody.
No.
Because some of us are married to people who don't like to talk. But in that case, I'm going to tell you, you need to pray, because communication, God loves us to talk to him. And if he loves that, then he created us to love that about each other. He loves us to talk. So there's a reason why your spouse is not talking.
Yeah.
Whether they know how to voice it or not is another situation. But believe me, everybody has something to say.
And if you talk to them, and if you question them and you ask them about, not badgering, but you ask them just different things about their childhood, different things about their past, different things about their present. And if that doesn't work, talk to them about what their future is. What are their future plans? What are their future hopes? What are their future goals? What's the future plans for your marriage? What do you guys want eventually to happen? Because I'm going to tell you, your golf game is always going to be there. Your work, your job, it's going to be there. But your marriage, I always say that you only get one marriage, and that's if you do it right. And so if you put forth the effort to be able to do your marriage and do your marriage right, then you have plans for your future. You don't just look at the fact that you're married right now and you have 2.3 kids and you live in a 2-bedroom house and you have 2 bathrooms. You don't take a look at that. You take a look and say, one day our kids are going to grow up, they're going to move out, they're going to go on their own. And what are we going to do together? You know, what trips are we going to take? Are we going to get matching Harleys? Are we going to get, how are we going to remodel our house? You know, what vacations are we going to take? You know, what are we going to do in our retirement? Are we going to take up fishing? What do you really love to do? Hey, let's get some cookbooks, and once the kids move out, we're going to cook these recipes.
What did you guys talk about in the beginning when you got married?
Yeah. What started you?
What started you?
Because something started you more than, wow, she's hot. Wow, he's attractive. Hey, let's be together. When you first started dating, you had a lot to talk about. And true enough, when you go on a date, you send your representative. It's not really you. You send somebody who has all of the great points about them. But get back to that. Find out what it was about and talk about the beginning. You know what? If you've been together for 25 years and you talk about from the very beginning all the way up to that 25 years, it might take you 10 years to be able to cover it.
Because I'm going to tell you, what we talked about, our goals and dreams, they've changed.
They've changed.
They have changed.
And by talking and communicating, we've developed new hopes, new goals, new dreams, new desires together. And we've had a great time this past 25 years. It's been a blast. Pound it. Blow it up. But we're looking forward to the next 25, 30, 40, 50 years. You know, we were talking the other day and we made a bet. And what was the bet? Do you remember?
If I'm alive.
No, not if you're alive. I told her that she was going to live to be 100 years old. And she's like, dude, I'm not going to live to be 100 years old. I was like, yes, you are. She's like, no, I'm not. I said, okay, I'll bet you $100 that you're going to live to be 100 years old. And don't be trying to die just so that you don't have to pay me my $100. But what was it? That was communication. Big, smaller, and different. Communication is communication.
We were talking.
And don't let communication only be yelling, fighting, and arguing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Let it be more than that. And so let's talk about communication right now. You don't know this, but the car just turned off, and right now the air conditioning is not going, and right now we are sweating like hostages in this car. I mean, look, I'm dripping.
I'm not sweating.
You see the sweat?
That's because I'm cool.
Oh, I'm not cool?
Yeah, you cool.
But right now, I'm sweating like a hostage. So YouTube, thank you. Look.
Oh,
YouTube.
What's wrong with me? Am I live?
YouTube, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Can you finish? You finish.
And remember, all of this is only possible with God. He is the greatest common denominator. And I just want you guys to know that I love you guys. Thank you for your comments. And join us again next.
Bye.